As someone who would have given suggestions and feedback on the state of the Indian economy, something that has been reflected also in the economic survey, Mr. Sanyal, the question really is, given the thumbs up that is also coming in from the industry sector, but in terms of roadmap and the preparations, we haven't really heard anything big bang. So would you then say that this is a budget of consolidation and continuity rather than anything big bang?
I think, first of all, macro stability and consolidation are not to be sniffed at. The economy is running at over 7%. There is inflation is the best behaved it's been in generations. If we are not going to consolidate the fiscal, basically, when are we going to do this? The fact that the fiscal deficit is now down at 4.3% of GDP, you now have the debt to GDP ratio for the central government at around about 55%, well down from 62% that had gone up, spiked up to during COVID, and on its way to being below 50% by the end of the decade. So these are all very important things. So what you have here is a very solid, no-nonsense, workmanlike budget. That doesn't mean that there isn't a broader agenda, but I do want to make out that macro stability and consolidation are not to be sniffed at.
So, Mr. Sanyal, then when we look at, should this budget then be seen in the backdrop of all the FTAs that has been signed and a series of decisions which could be taken outside the budget? Budget, yes, is a policy document, but if you look at last year alone, we have seen the second generation GST reforms come in the month of October, just ahead of Diwali. So there was this sense that that will boost consumption and increase expenditure or spending.
So yes, you're absolutely right. As you mentioned, that in the end, the budget is a fiscal document, and therefore the focus of it should be in macro stability. Unfortunately, we have had sometimes expectations that big subsidies and other things will be announced. Sometimes they need to be announced. But by and large, I am of the view that macro stability should be the center of all budget documents, number one. Now, there is a wider economic vision that is there, whether it is in terms of, you mentioned the second generation GST reforms, but we also did labor reforms just 2 months ago. We had FTA with the UK. Right. Just last week, we had an FTA with the European Union, which the Europeans, not us, but the Europeans described it as the mother of all FTAs. And we are pursuing, even now, despite some friction with the US and other countries as well. So there is a wider vision. And even in the budget, if you see, there is very long-term things that have been included. For example, we have talked about almost a 21-year tax holiday for creating data centers, 5-year holiday till 2035, not 5, 10-year holiday for nuclear parts being imported. So there are many things that we are putting in place for the longer term, which are also there in the budget. But yes, you're right. It has to be seen in the context of all the other reforms that we have done.
Okay. Would you then say that this is the government's attempt to perhaps balance domestic political expectations also, although there are no specific announcements with regards to states, it has been packaged as multi-state announcements, particularly keeping in mind the global economic situation and the turbulence?
I don't think anything is done as with any political or state agenda. In the sense that, I mean, there is no obvious orientation towards, say, upcoming state elections, for example. But on the other hand, obviously, India is a country made up of states, and many of the states have natural resources, for example, like certain minerals and rare earths. Then, certain policies have been put in place to be able to exploit them. So, to that extent, yes. There is also, of course, there are certain things, for example, for the Northeast or for tourism and so on that have also been put in place. But this is part of our wider agenda for pushing through and maintaining economic growth. There is, as you will see, almost no bending to populist agendas of any kind in the budget.
Okay, with China Plus gaining traction, Mr. Sanyal, is Budget 2026 India's now or never moment, particularly with regards to the manufacturing sector? Series of announcements that have come in that sector particularly.
So there are a few things in the budget that need to be highlighted. First of all, we have signed all these FTAs. We want to get into the export mode. You have seen in the past making many changes, including getting rid of certain QCOs and so on. But a big consistent complaint that we had from people who are both exporting or importing manufactured goods was that our customs system was inefficient. And so you may have seen an inordinate amount of attention was given to this by the Honorable Finance Minister, and people may ask why was so much time spent on the customs system? Because customs is the sort of the valve through which you make exports and imports, and if that is not efficient, there's no point in having these FTAs and other things, or even creating new ports and infrastructure if this valve is inefficient. So a few months ago, the Honorable Finance Minister had promised that the customs system would get smoothened out, and that is precisely what has been done. You will now see the process being a lot smoother, including for regular exporters and importers, the system being made basically almost faceless.
Okay, my last question to you. Yes, please go ahead, Mr. Sanyal. Finish your point.
No, so and then large X-ray type systems are being created to allow things to go through automatically. So this, if we are going to have bulk exports, then we need to be able to deal with it, and the infrastructure, both the procedural infrastructure and the physical infrastructure for that is being put in place.
You have just a week or two returned from what has been one of its kind expedition. Is this budget also signaling that kind of expedition, or what would you say that this is a budget which is of India, which is ready to take that leap of faith?
I think the key thing here is that it's not just about the budget, but the broader vision, which is that India needs to be a place that is which has an economy based on innovation, risk-taking, and outward orientation towards trade, which is essentially what the INSV Continental project was about. It was about ancient India. We're all proud of ancient India, but do remember that ancient India's success was based on, outward orientation. It was based on risk-taking by mariners who sailed all over the Indian Ocean and beyond. And it was based on innovative technology of that time, which was stitch ship technology. Today, that might be data centers or biotechnology. But the logic of that is the same. Risk-taking, innovation, and outward orientation, all of which show through in this budget and more broadly in the economic vision.
All right. So if you were to give some kind of number, although the industry has given it 11 out of 10, the opposition says it's perhaps in minus, what's your number going to be?
Well, it would be the prerogative of other people to give us numbers. As a member of the government, it is not for me to put numbers to myself.
All right, Mr. Sanjeev Sanyal, pleasure speaking to you, sir. Thank you so much for your time here.
Thank you.